On our 7th wedding anniversary, I discovered my wife had a new chat buddy. They chatted daily, starting precisely at 9 in the morning and ending at 5 in the afternoon, more punctual than clock-in times at work. Their conversations evolved from initially discussing work, complaining about colleagues, to sharing daily life details. And now, they had quickly veered toward increasingly intimate topics, from guessing each other's underwear colors to discussing marital private matters. Her chat partner even offered suggestions for our married life, and my wife would give him feedback after putting them into practice. But no matter how heated and urgent their conversations became, they would abruptly end at 5 o'clock. "I'm going to take a shower first. You be good and wait for me in bed." As Su Qingmu slipped into the bathroom, she didn't forget to flirtatiously raise her eyebrows at me. The splashing sounds of water echoed from the bathroom, accompanied by Su Qingmu's intermittent humming. Thinking about what was about to happen, I became incredibly excited, like a youth who had never experienced intimacy before. Today is our 7th wedding anniversary, and Su Qingmu has been insisting she would give me an unforgettable night. How could I not look forward to it? While she was taking a shower, I quickly made the bed, scattered rose petals on the sheets, dimmed the lights, and lit candles. In the record player, I put on her favorite jazz album. The atmosphere was perfect, intimate yet sophisticated. Qingmu's phone, which she had left on the nightstand, lit up. As if possessed, I picked it up. It was a notification from the Little Red Book app, alerting her that a user named Momo had liked her latest post. Strange, didn't she tell me that she only browsed this app and never posted anything? An inexplicable uneasiness welled up in my heart. Reason told me I shouldn't doubt the wife I lived with day and night, but this strange sixth sense prompted me to enter the password and unlock her phone. We both knew each other's phone passwords. When we shared them, we even joked that if something happened to either of us, the other should immediately unlock the phone and delete all those unseemly chat logs and browsing histories. I clicked on Momo's profile picture. This person hadn't posted any notes, and I could only tell from the blue icon next to his profile picture and name that it was a man. But when I opened his likes section on his homepage, I discovered he had only liked one person's content, Su Qingmu's. His following list was the same, only Qingmu, though she wasn't following him back. At this point, I was still hopeful, thinking perhaps this person was just someone with a one-sided crush on Su Qingmu. I even felt somewhat proud, thinking my wife was still attractive enough to draw admirers. Then I clicked on Qingmu's profile and discovered that she had been posting multiple photos here almost every day, and chat records with someone whose WeChat profile picture was a black kitten accounted for more than 80% of her posted content. They chatted almost every day, and from the timestamps, they were messaging from morning until night. I immediately opened Qingmu's WeChat, but in the main chat interface displayed on the homepage, I couldn't find this profile picture. I had no choice but to open her contacts list and patiently search through it one by one. When I saw this profile picture, I clicked on it without thinking. Heavens! Just one glance, and I could see it was full of inappropriate messages. Only then did I realize that Su Qingmu had even set this person's chat to not display on her main screen, so it could only be seen by clicking directly into it. Not only that, she had thoughtfully set his messages to Do Not Disturb. To chat this much despite Do Not Disturb being on, I'm afraid her phone must have stayed on this chat interface during the day, never exiting from it. The sound of water suddenly stopped. I hurriedly exited WeChat and put her phone back in its original place. Qingmu was still in high spirits. She walked in wearing a fitted nightgown, her half-dry hair slightly disheveled, which only enhanced her allure. I stared at her blankly, my mind filled with the vulgar messages I had just seen. But before this, I had always thought her openness was one-on-one, directed only at me. And now, I was so tense that even my toes were clenched. She noticed my unusual behavior and stopped somewhat dejectedly, pouting in dissatisfaction. I must have lost my charm. The coquettish tone, the shy expression, the manner that used to make me yearn for her. At this moment, it all felt somewhat unfamiliar. I forcibly steadied my emotions, restraining the impulse to question her, and managed to squeeze out a smile, apologizing to her in a hoarse voice. "Sorry, honey, I'm really tired today." Qingmu was taken aback, and although she said, "My husband worked hard today," the disdain in her eyes didn't escape my scrutiny. I patted her head, pulled up the blanket, and turned over, showing her my back. She reluctantly laid down close against me. "Honey, you don't happen to have someone else outside, do you?" The resentful voice came from behind me, which I found somewhat amusing. "Why would you say that? It's just like eating meals. If you've eaten your fill outside, of course you wouldn't eat at home." I probed with a question. "If you put it that way, couldn't I say that you're being so ravenous with me because someone else has been teasing you?" Qingmu's hand paused, her tone and body becoming much more rigid. What nonsense are you talking about?" I turned over, staring straight at her. At first she forced herself to maintain eye contact with me, but before long, she conceded her gaze wandering as she spoke evasively. Why are you looking at me like that? Seeing her so nervous that her breathing almost stopped, I lifted the curled hair by her ear and smiled gently. Silly wife, aren't we just role-playing a scene? What's wrong? Don't you like it? Qingmu glared with feigned anger. You'll see how I'll punish you tonight. All these years, I've respected her wish to remain childless, but now, this is also fulfilling one of my own desires. Afterwards, I curiously asked Qingmu why she suddenly changed her mind. She replied casually, I heard it from a colleague. After saying this, she planted a quick kiss on my cheek. But my heart had already sunk to the bottom again. Colleague, isn't that just her work buddy she's always chatting with? I held out until Qingmu fell into a deep sleep, then picked up her phone again. With practiced ease, I clicked on the black cat avatar and scrolled for quite a while until I finally saw their conversation where he had said to Qingmu that afternoon. Trust me, I have more experience. Wow, you're so amazing. I spent the entire evening but still couldn't finish reading through their chat history from the past month. But from their chats, I learned that the person is called Su Ziao, 6 years younger than Qingmu, and is an intern who just joined their company this year, not yet a permanent employee. Their conversations started normally, just occasional exchanges about work. Gradually, as their work interactions increased, especially since they reported to the same boss, the two found common ground in their grievances and began chatting more frequently. Later on, they started sharing daily happenings. From small things like seeing a cute dog on the way to work, to bigger topics like international affairs and current politics, Qingmu, who was never interested in such matters, could somehow discuss these with him for hours. Every workday morning, they would start chatting from the moment they left home until they finished work. From their conversations, it's clear they never met outside of work, but this frequency and content of chatting is rare even for normal couples, let alone colleagues. Looking back at Su Qingmu's sleeping face, it still has the appearance that I deeply love, but now I feel that in places I cannot see, something has already silently changed. I clutched her phone tightly, forcefully suppressing the impulse to smash the phone into her face and question her. Yet she habitually moved closer to me, burying her head on my shoulder, and even contentedly smacked her lips. In that instant, my heart softened. This is the person I've deeply loved for 9 years. I even began to reflect on whether I had been too busy lately and neglected her, which is why she needed to seek emotional value from someone else. I put her phone back on the bedside table, embraced her, and silently resolved to treat her better. But I still couldn't resist opening Zaihongshu, registering a new account, and casually following Su Qingmu's account. The next day at work, I found myself unable to concentrate. I couldn't help but wonder, at this moment, Su Qingmu must be chatting with that Su Ziao again, right? What would they be talking about today? How could they possibly have so much to discuss? I kept looking outside through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the office, watching my colleagues intensely focused on their computers, typing away. They all appeared to be immersed in their work, but among them, could there be chat buddies like them, secretly messaging instead of working? I remained distracted until the end of the workday, making no progress on the tasks I should have completed. Yet the moment the clock struck leaving time, I eagerly clocked out and left. My colleagues were all surprised. After all, I was known as a workaholic. Not only would I work overtime to finish incomplete tasks, but I would typically prepare for upcoming projects even while completing current ones. I bought Su Qingmu's favorite small cake and waited outside her company, thinking that if I made time to accompany her more during this period, perhaps she wouldn't seek emotional comfort from other men. Shortly after, I saw Su Qingmu walking out with several people, all chatting and laughing together. Even though there were several men and women in the group, I immediately recognized which one was Su Ziao. No, not by sight, since I had never seen his photo before. I just knew by instinct. I noticed how Su Qingmu, while covering her mouth and laughing heartily, would unconsciously tilt her head toward the tall man beside her, and he would also look back at her with a smiling gaze. Though these were subtle gestures, they revealed a silent understanding between them. And once this kind of understanding develops between a man and a woman, it marks a terribly dangerous beginning. It creates an illusion, making one mistakenly believe that this person is the soul most capable of resonating with her. Su Qingmu saw me, paused slightly, then excitedly waved at me, even pointing me out to her colleagues. I smiled stiffly, my gaze interlocking with Su Ziao's. He wore a standard social smile on his face, but his eyes were quite cold. He took the initiative to extend his hand to me. Hello, I'm Su Ziao. I've often heard Qingmu mention you. Qingmu told me everything about last night. Shouldn't you be thanking me? Su Ziao spoke rather frankly. Su Qingmu, however, looked somewhat flustered, linking her arm with mine while clamoring that she was hungry and wanted to go eat right away. I offered the small cake to her, speaking in a gentle voice. That's why I brought your favorite small cake. Oh, teasing sounds arose from all around. Su Qingmu's face turned bright red, seeming partly from embarrassment and partly from anger. In the end, I was the one who rescued her from the situation. Have this to tide you over for now. I'll take you somewhere nice to eat right away. I pretended not to have heard Su Xiao's earlier provocation. However, as we were saying goodbye, I casually asked, "What did you just say?" He smiled and replied it was nothing, even waving his hand to urge me to quickly take Qingmu to eat. Feed her well so she won't snack elsewhere. Qingmu has been complaining about being hungry all afternoon. Qingmu must have also caught the deeper meaning in his words, her face instantly turning red to the roots of her ears, with a strange excitement flashing in her eyes. She laboriously pulled her hand from my palm and lightly swung at Xu Ziyao's arm. "Don't talk nonsense." I continued to play dumb, affectionately pinching her reddened ear. "Little glutton, let's go quickly. I'm worried if you get any hungrier, you might eat a bunch of junk food out of desperation." Qingmu was still immersed in the embarrassment of being teased by Xu Ziyao, not really hearing what I said. But Xu Ziyao was different. His attention wasn't on Qingmu, but on me. I had already noticed that from the moment I appeared, he kept looking me up and down. As a man, how could I not know that he was silently comparing himself to me? Although I'm older than him, I was confident that neither in appearance nor in substance was I inferior to him. I could tell he felt insecure, and it was precisely because of his insecurity that he made such crude jokes, wanting to hint to me how intimate his relationship with Qingmu was. On the way to the restaurant, Qingmu sat in the passenger seat in complete silence, but from the corner of my eye, I noticed her fingers moving rapidly across her phone screen, with smiles she couldn't suppress at the corners of her mouth and eyes. Once upon a time, that affectionate smile of hers was clearly meant for me. A wave of bitterness welled up in my heart, and my words carried a hint of emotion. "Who are you chatting with that makes you smile so happily?" Qingmu instantly became alert, stammering and pretending to be annoyed. "Just a colleague, complaining about work stuff? It's really annoying. I already told them I'm on a date with my husband, but they keep messaging nonstop." She carefully glanced sideways to observe my reaction, and when she saw me staring straight ahead without looking away, she quietly sighed in relief. As soon as we entered the restaurant, Qingmu tossed her bag into my arms, exclaiming that she couldn't hold it any longer as she rushed toward the restroom. After I settled in my seat, I took out her phone from her bag without any hesitation. Sure enough, she was still chatting passionately with that Su Xiao while beside me, and their conversation had become even more inappropriate than before. It seems my presence had only made Su Xiao more brazen. Just as Qingmu was coming out of the restroom, I saw Su Xiao sending another message. "If your husband isn't capable, I don't mind stepping in personally." I didn't open it and directly put the phone back in her bag, leaving the message still showing as unread. Qingmu sat down across from me, and I handed her bag to her. "Your phone just rang again, da." She frantically smoothed her hair behind her ear, which wasn't actually messy at all, while unlocking her phone with her other hand. I stared at her intently, not wanting to miss even the slightest reaction. The moment she opened WeChat, she didn't just blush, even her breathing became rapid. Perhaps sensing my scrutinizing gaze, she quickly flipped her phone face down on the table. I handed her the menu. "Order something." She flipped through it absent-mindedly several times, unable to decide what to eat. As the menu rustled in her hands, I watched her inner struggle with bated breath. Slam. She closed the menu and stood up. I sneered. "What's wrong? Nothing you want to eat? Isn't this your favorite restaurant?" She swallowed hard with difficulty, her lips quivering for quite some time before she finally gathered the courage to speak. "Honey, actually my colleague needs me for something urgent. You don't know, but today the proposal we submitted." Watching her lie while pretending to be calm was quite amusing. I couldn't be bothered to respond, just waved the back of my hand at her dismissively. "Go ahead and take care of your work. Do you need me to drive you?" Qingmu grabbed her bag and ran off, shouting as she went. "No need. You go home first. I don't know how late I'll be working." My eyes darkened. Of course, the first time would naturally be when the excitement is fresh, making the most of it. Knowing that my wife was tumbling in the sheets with someone else, I was surprisingly calm. I even began to question my original intentions for picking her up from work. Was I trying to salvage this relationship, or was I actually accelerating the chemistry between her and Su Xiao? Was I testing her? But when has human nature ever passed such tests? The test had already begun the moment they sent their first messages to each other every morning. There had been so many opportunities, whether when Su Xiao first shared his daily life with her, or when their conversations gradually turned vulgar. Su Qingmu never once responded with the word no. Now finally, the last line of defense had fallen. That night, I found the largest suitcase in the house and packed up all of her belongings. The house was left to me by my parents, so naturally, I couldn't give it to her. But when I drafted the divorce agreement, I left her the car and most of our assets. I don't mind starting over from scratch. After all, being together for so many years, there is still some sun. Teammate, life after divorce is much harder for women than for men. I believe I've done everything that could reasonably be expected. I carefully stapled the drafted agreement, signed my name on it, then placed it in a folder, and finally set it neatly on top of the suitcase. After finishing all this, I felt incredibly relieved. It was already midnight when Qingmu returned. She tiptoed through the door, looking utterly delighted in both her movements and expression. She didn't notice me curled up on the balcony and hummed a tune as she headed toward the bedroom. "You're back," I said coldly. The sudden sound startled her, and the phone clutched in her hand fell to the floor. From a distance, I could tell it was her chat with Suzy Yao, as I had seen it too many times these past few days. She showed no guilt at being caught doing something wrong. Instead, she tilted her head back defiantly and complained. "Why didn't you make a sound? So frightening." And it was precisely this movement that exposed the ambiguous red marks in the hollow of her neck. I felt somewhat sick. Forcing myself to stand up, I no longer cared about gentlemanly manners and grabbed her shirt collar. What are you doing? Are you crazy?" Su Qingmu realized something and covered her neck in embarrassment and anger. "Would you believe me if I said it was a mosquito bite?" I laughed. "Do you believe that yourself?" My mockery angered her, and she tried to hit me on the head with her phone, but I snatched it from her hand. Su Qingmu finally panicked. She watched me unlock the phone with a grim face, open WeChat, and quickly reached forward to grab my hand, but I dodged her. She began to stutter, her voice trembling. "Who? Husband? It's not what you think. I was just working overtime. If you don't believe me, ask Suzy Yao. You met him this afternoon." She shouldn't have mentioned Suzy Yao. At the mention of his name, I completely lost my rationality. I frantically swiped through her phone, but my hands were shaking with anger, making it impossible to click on the black cat profile picture. "You dare to tell me to ask him? You dare to let me ask him? Su Qingmu, are you taking me for a fool?" She nervously grabbed the phone back, her face contorted. "Why wouldn't I dare? We're purely colleagues. Nothing inappropriate whatsoever. I admit, he might have some feelings for me, but everyone in our company knows I'm married. If someone still wants to pursue me despite the difficulties, it just proves how attractive I am. Only insecure men would distrust their partners. How dark is your mind inside?" Seeing me keeping my head down without saying anything for a long time, she seemed to soften a bit. "Honey, don't forget, last night I let you do what you've always wanted to do. Do you know how much risk I took?" I raised my head with a cold smile. "Was it something you wanted to do yourself? Or something someone else encouraged you to do?" Su Qingmu's pupils contracted violently. She stepped back and gripped her phone tighter. What are you talking about?" I pulled out the suitcase and handed her the divorce agreement. "Some things are better left unsaid clearly, to leave some room for each other, don't you think? I've packed everything for you. Although it's very late now, please leave my home. I believe with Miss Su's charm, you won't lack for someone to take you and . Looking at the divorce agreement, Su Qingmu's body went limp, and she stumbled and fell to her knees on the floor. I looked down at her, bending over to place the agreement beside her feet. She looked up at me with tears, reaching out to grab my ankle. "Husband, what about us?" I pulled away, answering her coldly. "From the first day your chats with him went beyond what colleagues should discuss. There was no more us." Qingmu stared at me in shock, seemingly unable to believe that I, who had always doted on her, could be so cold to her now. "Also, don't touch me anymore. I find it disgusting." Without even looking at her, I walked into the bedroom. The moment I closed the door, I heard her cry out in heart-wrenching sobs. I really didn't do anything with him, whether you believe it or not. In the end, I restrained myself. Hearing this, I opened the bedroom door. Qingmu, who had been kneeling on the ground sobbing, looked up with joy when she heard the sound. "How far did things go before you restrained yourself? Does it only count as being unfaithful to me when you cross that final line?" The continuous questioning made Qingmu tremble suddenly. Then she lowered her head dejectedly. "I gave you chances." She remained motionless. Only her slightly trembling eyelashes betrayed her tumultuous emotions at that moment. "Since last night, I've been giving you chances all along." The room was dead silent. After a long while, she began to laugh, though that laughter was mixed with sobbing, sounding quite eerie in the darkness. I was getting impatient and said wearily, "There's no point in dragging this out anymore. Take a good look at the agreement, call me if you have any questions, and let's find time to get divorced soon." Her laughter didn't stop. Instead, it became increasingly unrestrained. "Fine, let's divorce. Who's afraid of whom? We've been together for 9 years. Just for something so minor, you want to split up with me? You don't have any manly tolerance at all. Even Su Xiao doesn't mind that I have a husband. Why do you care that I have a male friend I get along with?" At this point, hearing such twisted logic from her mouth no longer surprised me. "Do you need me to call you a taxi?" I asked kindly. Su Qingmu snorted coldly, then dialed Su Xiao's number right in front of me, speaking in a coquettish tone. "Darling, I have good news for you. I'm getting divorced. Can you come pick me up?" After saying this, she gave me a smug look. But Su Xiao's reaction was clearly not what she expected. His surprise and panic echoed clearly through the speaker into my ears. "What? Divorced? Is it? It's not because of me, is it? Divorce is certainly heartbreaking, but being rejected by your lover after the divorce is even more crushing. Su Qingmu was already struggling to maintain the conversation. Of course it's because of you. Didn't you say tonight that you wanted to marry me? That you were jealous of him getting to hold me every night when we sleep? Ha! Su Xiao laughed arrogantly. Are you stupid? You actually believed what a man says. Why don't you ask that fussy husband of yours to take a good look at himself? If you weren't free and clean, why would I waste time on an older woman like you? When you're someone else's wife, the cost of sleeping with you is minimal. Do you understand that, big sister? After saying this, without waiting for Su Qingmu's response, Su Xiao angrily hung up the phone. The beeping sound continued as Qingmu held the phone, stunned for quite some time. I yawned and waved my hand in front of her. You'd better check if the hotel still has rooms available, otherwise we'll end up sleeping on the streets. That night, Su Qingmu left awkwardly, dragging her suitcase. She booked a long-term room at the hotel by the community entrance and would wait for me at the community gate punctually every day. In the mornings, she'd bring warm tofu pudding and steamed buns, gently tapping on my car window as I passed through the parking barrier. Don't go to work on an empty stomach. It's not good for your health. In the evening, she brought milk and fruit and still gently tapped on my car window as I passed through the parking barrier. Eat more fruit to get some vitamin C, and here's milk. Remember to warm it up before drinking at bedtime. I didn't respond to anything she said, not even sparing her a glance. I just reached out my hand and accepted everything she carefully gave me. Why refuse free things? She had tortured me so badly, even making me doubt myself, so what was wrong with me mentally torturing her a little? After this continued for a week, Su Qingmu finally broke down. Because she saw a woman in my car who was younger than her and, of course, more beautiful, my business partner Wang Lucy. Actually, that day Wang Lucy and I were going to attend a business dinner together, and a major client we had been trying to win over would also be there. We had just temporarily decided to go to my home first to get the product materials, and Wang Lucy had even proactively suggested that she'd wait downstairs to avoid any suspicion. But when entering the community gate, when Su Qingmu was handing me fruit and milk as usual, she saw Wang Lucy and lost control on the spot. She smashed all the milk and fruit onto me and Wang Lucy, while shouting as she threw them. So this is why you were so heartless in kicking me out? To make room for someone new? Tell me, where did you pick up this slut? When did you start hooking up with her? Milk splashed all over my and Wang Lucy's faces and bodies, and the car was completely soiled. I hurriedly nodded an apology to Wang Lucy, then got out of the car and closed the door to prevent her from lashing out at an innocent person in her impulsive state. But this action completely infuriated her. She swung both arms trying to scratch my face, shouting obscenities so loudly as if afraid others couldn't hear. It was rush hour, and since people are naturally drawn to gossip that doesn't concern them, the entrance to the residential complex was soon completely blocked by crowds and vehicles. Many uninformed onlookers pointed fingers at me, and quite a few took out their phones to snap photos of my face. Seeing that I was completely at a disadvantage in this public scandal, Su Qingmu became even more agitated. She shoved me away from the car door, shouting, I want to see what this home-wrecking vixen who stole someone else's husband looks like, and reached for the door handle. Fortunately, Wang Luqian was quick-witted and had already locked the door from inside, preventing Su Qingmu from dragging her into the angry crowd. Meanwhile, I fell to the ground from Su Qingmu's push and was trampled several times by the surging crowd. Wang Luqian frantically gestured to me through the car window, indicating she had called the police. Only when the police sirens sounded did this baseless righteous judgment finally stop. Only Su Qingmu continued to chatter incessantly, and even falsely accused me first. He hit me with his car first, just because I discovered he was bringing another woman home. He tried to hit me. Officer, you must help me seek justice. She grabbed the female police officer in charge and sobbed loudly. The officer patted her shoulder twice, then walked toward me. There was a dash cam in the car, which quickly proved that Su Qingmu was the first to act. While I not only didn't attack her proactively, I didn't even fight back. The female police officer frowned and looked at Su Qingmu with displeasure. Miss, spreading false rumors carries legal consequences. Su Qingmu backed down. She looked at me ingratiatingly, hoping I would say something to get her off the hook. If this matter hadn't involved others, out of our past relationship, I would certainly have given her a chance to reconcile. But now, because of the entanglement between us, she's venting her resentment on innocent people, which I neither understand nor will forgive. I coldly stared at her, my attitude making everything clear. Seeing that the police officer had already taken out the cold gleeman silver handcuffs in front of everyone, Su Qingmu suddenly fell to her knees with a thud. Please. She sobbed quietly, then suddenly burst into loud crying. I just love you too much. I know I was wrong. Husband, I really know I was wrong. I sighed. You don't really know you were wrong. You're just out of options. Don't think I don't know. If that Su Xiao was willing to take you in, you'd be on your knees calling him husband right now. The onlookers also turned against her, pointing at Su Qingmu and cursing in righteous indignation, with vulgar language far more offensive than what I had said. I insisted that she apologize to Wang Luqian, but unexpectedly, this caused her already unstable emotions to collapse once again. The disheveled and hysterical Su Qingmu at this moment no longer resembled her former self in any way. You still dare to say there's nothing between you two? You're already protecting her like this. Haha, let me tell you, Su Xiao and I did it in your car. Right on the first day, he came to the company, right in your driver's seat. My eyes narrowed as I remembered. There was a period when her car broke down, and she was using my car to commute to and from work during the repair. The crowd of onlookers erupted, with even a yellow-haired guy whistling. Sis, that's too cruel, isn't it? Su Qingmu had clearly adopted an attitude of having nothing left to lose, looking as if she'd won a victory by exposing her own shameful behavior. She doesn't think that by claiming to have made me wear a green hat, meaning being cheated on, I'm the one who should be embarrassed, does she? I smiled knowingly. That's great. I was just worried that if we end up filing for divorce, the evidence I currently have wouldn't be sufficient. Su Qingmu frowned, appearing not furiously angry at me as expected, but rather quite dissatisfied. I opened the dash cam app on my phone, thinking as I entered the date. If I remember correctly, it was April 7th, right? The day before my birthday? Only then did she realize what I was about to do, screaming as she lunged forward to snatch my phone away. But she was stopped by the police, who reprimanded her for interfering with my evidence collection. After pressing play, the rustling sounds of a man and woman came through, so explicit that it instantly froze the previously tense atmosphere. Considering the inappropriate nature of the content in public, I muted the sound and quickly skimmed through the footage, unexpectedly finding an additional surprise. Su Xiao opened WeChat and promptly sent her a 38.74 red packet. Here's your hard-earned money. Look, I've given you every last cent from my wallet. Su Qingmu laughed shamelessly. Since you've given me everything, I can't let you lose out. Today, let's call it buy one get one free. I handed my phone to the police officer as if I'd found a trees. Officer, I want to report an illegal transaction. Although the price is cheap, the nature is just as vile. What was gratifying was that the police didn't just take away Su Qingmu. They also took Su Xiao, who was working overtime at the company, fawning over the boss in hopes of securing a permanent position. No matter how much the two tried to argue that they were just having an affair, the monetary relationship did exist, and their passionate, sweet talk inadvertently became evidence. By the time the two were sitting in detention without seeing daylight, the company had already made the decision to fire both of them. I kindly delivered their termination notices along with the latest divorce agreement I had drafted for Su Qingmu. If previously I had left her an escape route regarding property division, now I was leaving her with absolutely nothing. After not seeing her for several days, she somehow looked like she had aged more than a decade. Her once rosy face had turned ashen, with deeper wrinkles. Her eyes were lifeless, even moving more slowly when she shifted her gaze. And her once prized glossy, flowing long hair, which she had always taken such pride in, now hung unevenly on her shoulders, dry and yellowing. When she saw what I was holding in my hand, she maintained her blank expression, as if nothing could stir any reaction from her anymore. This time she didn't argue, taking the agreement without even looking at it, and promptly signed her name. Only at the final stroke, the pen tip tore through the paper. When I saw her extending the divorce agreement, I quickly reached out to take it, but she clutched it tightly, refusing to let go, glaring at me with cloudy eyes, and said viciously, "Just you wait. You'll see how I'll get back at you once I'm out of here." I covered my nose with my hand, with an exaggerated expression. "How many days since you last brushed your teeth? It stinks." She instantly deflated, slumping dejectedly in her chair. As I gathered my things, I reminded her with a refreshed air, "If you're thinking of getting revenge on me when you get out, that would be a huge mistake. Though you won't be locked up for long, this kind of scandal is a lifelong stain on anyone it happens to. Don't you agree? You should be grateful you made such a big scene that day. You have no idea how viral you and your affair partner have gone online. I suggest you keep your head down when you go out. If someone wants to ride the trend and live stream you, you might get rotten eggs thrown at you." Yes, she and Su Xiao were now completely socially ruined. Even their company had been affected by this incident. The company's reputation suffered because of their employees' personal affairs, causing their stock price to drop significantly. I heard they've already assembled a team of legal advisors, just waiting for these two to get out to claim damages. But I decided not to tell her this news. I'll leave it as a surprise for when she regains her freedom. Bad people should taste the bitter fruits of their actions. Better yet if they fall into a vicious cycle, sinking deeper and deeper into the swamp of